I was reading about George Soros last night, and I read his Wikipedia, and I read some of the. He's a very polarizing figure. He became rich by his successful shorting of the pound, and when he was a young man, he survived Nazi Germany by purportedly helping the Nazis. And he's one of these characters that people love to hate. And it's interesting because one of his sons from his second marriage, I mean, when you grow up in the house of a billionaire, you can just imagine like the kind of privilege that you're just naturally used to. You don't know anything else other than that. And anyway, one of these sons said that as a child that he saw himself as a god. He had sort of a messiah complex. And I spent a decade in India studying yoga, and I was particularly interested in, I suppose, I had a full-time job teaching English and building up an online bookshop and then studying yoga. But in the peripheries of my attention, often it's in the peripheries of our attention, I was becoming more and more interested in Ramana Maharshi, who was this Indian sage. And while I was at the yoga school, there was a man called Krishnamurti, UG Krishnamurti. There were like two Krishnamurtis, and I've heard it said that they were sort of split souls. They were like the yin and yang of the same message. And Jiddu Krishnamurti would definitely be this gentle yin character. He was very loving and soothing, and Yuji Krishnamurti would just, he was like a bull in a china shop. And he came into the yoga school once with this lady who had studied under the yoga teacher Patabi Joyce, who's the sort of father of this school of yoga called, it's a sort of a lineage of its own based on extremist yoga postures called Ashtanga Yoga, although yoga as a general teaching is called Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga of the eight-pronged path. And this woman had been doing yoga asanas, and Patabi Joyce had felt up her bottom, and there was UG Krishnamurti. He's a pervert, so like UG Krishnamurti was just like really forthright. But one of the things that they say is that an enlightened being can see another enlightened being. They call in Sanskrit, an enlightened being is called a jnani, Jnani, which comes from nana, which is knowledge, and we get the word Gnosticism from that in Greek. And the reason I reference the story of this son of the billionaire, and in fact it's been said that the greatest aspiration other than having money and worldly control of George Soros is to be a prophet, to come up with some breakthrough in philosophy. In fact, it was his work in sort of something he learned in philosophy that he applied to economics that led him to short the pound and make $1 billion. But that's just philosophy at the level of worldly activity. Whereas a jnani is someone that outgrows the identity that is associated with the body, with the world. It's an enlightened being. And I find it interesting that when you're born to this incredible privilege, that the child of that, the son of Soros, saw himself as this kind of messiah figure, because he's living with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he's seeing the contrast of the poverty and the pain around him, and his father has a sort of zealot-like passion for using his money to influence political change. And there's a dark side to that. I'm not trying to take on a conspiracy theory here. There's plenty of channels that do that. But I'm looking at this, the ego's version of the Messiah, which is to change the world and to save humanity. And then Ramana's version of waking up to his true nature, which doesn't want to fix anyone, sees everyone as perfect. But there are, armed with this awakening, the eyes that see those that have reached that state, which are very, very rare. And I find it interesting, like anyone that's seeking out truth, they're going to go from the mega churches of the world, which claim God is behind them, and they've got all this following, and you know, these Instagram followers, and they think they're important, and God is behind everything that's unfolding, to the Ramanas of this world who aren't trying to fix it. They know it can't be fixed. All they can do is change the way they see it. And that's why, you know, you can have very advanced beings that have no status or importance in the world, because this isn't something that's about IQ. It's about a shift in perception. You know, you can have a very small IQ and see things differently. Innocence is not dependent on power in the world or intelligence in the mind. It's about taking what you have and shifting how you see it. Taking what you think you are and shifting how you see it.